Medusa, the truth behind the snakes and stone eyes. I wasn't born a monster, but this world made me one. Since the beginning of time, every civilization has feared its own monsters. But there is one name that even Greek warriors trembled to speak. Medusa, the Gorgon, with snakes for hair and eyes that turned men into stone. But have you ever wondered, who was Medusa, really? And who turned her into a monster? Who was Medusa before the curse? Few remember that Medusa was once human, entirely mortal. She lived in ancient Greece, a young, beautiful woman, with long, flowing black hair and eyes that sparkled like precious stones. She was chosen to be a virgin priestess in the temple of Athena, goddess of wisdom, war, and purity. As priestesses, we swore lifelong chastity, to dedicate our minds, our silence, and our lives to the goddess. I chose to serve wisdom, not war. But wisdom turned its back on me. The wrath of the sea. Then the sea rose in fury, not against armies, but against one frightened girl. Poseidon, lord of the seas, saw Medusa's beauty and became obsessed. One night, within the sacred walls of the temple, he took her by force. It was more than an assault. It was a desecration of holy ground. I was the victim, but in the eyes of the gods, I became the sinner. Instead of punishing Poseidon, Athena turned her wrath on Medusa. "You have defiled my temple," she said. "Your beauty is to blame. Then let your face reflect the horror it has caused." The curse of the goddess Medusa became a Gorgon, a creature with hair of living snakes, skin like stone eyes that could kill with a single glance. No one can look at me, because to see me is to die. But if no one dares look at me, am I still human? She fled to the far west, hiding in a cave where darkness was her only companion. She didn't hunt, she didn't rage, she simply existed, in pain, in silence. Yet her legend spread, a monster with deadly eyes, cursed by the gods. They feared me, but they were the ones who created me. Perseus and the death in sleep. Every story needs a hero, and in mine, someone came to kill me. Perseus, son of Zeus, was sent to take Medusa's head as a trophy. He was helped by the gods. Athena, a mirrored shield. Hermes, winged sandals. Hades, a helmet of invisibility. And so, while I slept, he came. He never looked into my eyes. He never faced me. He saw my reflection and struck me down like a prize. Perseus used my head as a weapon, turning monsters, kings, and enemies into stone. My killer became a legend. My severed head became his shield, the symbol of divine protection. Athena placed Medusa's head on her shield, the aegis, a symbol of divine protection. Medusa was no longer human, no longer a monster. She had become a weapon, a warning, a tool for the gods. Once, I was a victim. Then, I became a monster. Now, I am a symbol carried even by goddesses. Medusa in the modern world. Today, Medusa is a symbol of survival. She appears in feminist art, looking directly into the camera without fear. Her image is used by movements that say, "Don't look away." If I seem frightening, maybe it's because I lived. Maybe it's because I dared to outlive their silence. Medusa now represents vengeful justice, cursed beauty, the truth that power tried to bury. She is not just legend. She is memory. She is warning. She is truth. Medusa, the woman turned into a monster. A woman turned into a monster simply because she had been hurt. In the most sacred of places, she did not seek blood. She only wished for silence. But the world never grants silence to those who carry the truth. They feared her gaze. because it did not bow. They called her a killer with eyes, but her eyes only reflected the fear already within them. And if you think Medusa was the only one, let me tell you another name, another story. A woman who existed even before Eden. Lilith before Eve, before the concept of sin. There was a woman who walked out of paradise, not because she was guilty, but because she refused to kneel. They called her Lilith. And if Medusa is a symbol of pain turned into power, then Lilith is the beginning of quiet defiance. A woman who walked away, long before the first curse was ever written. Not Eve. Lilith was the first. Long before Eve was created from Adam's rib, there was another woman. She was not a fictional character, but part of ancient Jewish texts, such as the alphabet of Ben Sira, Midrash, and Zohar. Her name was Lilith, and she was believed to be the first woman in human history. According to legend, God created the first two humans from the same substance, dust. Neither came before the other. Neither was inferior. Lilith, like Adam, was a direct creation of God. Unlike Eve, she was not made from a rib. She was not derivative. She was equal. From the very beginning, Lilith and Adam were equals. But even in Eden, the so-called paradise, inequality quickly revealed itself. Adam demanded submission. He insisted Lilith remain beneath him, physically and spiritually. Lilith refused. She declared, "We were made the same. No one above, no one below." She rejected Adam's authority. And in that moment, paradise began to crack. No more arguments, no violence. Lilith simply left. She fled Eden, leaving behind a place that called itself divine, but demanded blind obedience. She descended through the clouds, away from golden light, and into the desert, a land with no laws and no masters. Lilith's departure angered God. He sent 3 angels to bring her back, but their command was not a request. "If you do not return," they warned, "you will lose 100 children each day." Lilith refused. She chose suffering and exile over submission. And so, the curse began. She was labeled a demon, the mother of monsters, a child killer, a seductress in dreams. Lilith was erased from the canonical Bible, her name removed from Genesis. She was forgotten, deliberately. But for thousands of years, apocryphal texts and whispered stories continued to tell her tale. She became the shadow in the night, the first woman who dared to say no, the embodiment of rebellion that could not be silenced. In the 20th century, feminist movements reclaimed her name. She was no longer a demon. She became a symbol of self-ownership, of a woman who refused the role men wrote for her, of the price paid for freedom. In 1976, Lilith magazine was founded by Jewish women, reviving her as a cultural icon for a new era, an era in which women were no longer defined by obedience. Lilith's story is more than myth. It is a reminder. Not all silence is holy. Not all obedience is virtue. And not everyone who leaves paradise is guilty. Final whisper. Lilith. They rewrote me as a monster because they couldn't bear a woman who would not kneel. But if you've ever been misunderstood, if you've ever walked away from a place that no longer respected you, then maybe you've heard my voice. I am Lilith. I was not cast out. I chose to leave paradise. Ariadne, the woman who brought light into the labyrinth. They remember the hero who left, but not the woman who helped him escape. The princess of a bloody palace. Ariadne was born in Crete, daughter of King Minos and Queen Pasiphae. She was royalty, but in a palace built on fear. Every 9 years, Athens had to send 7 boys and 7 girls to be sacrificed in a maze beneath the palace. Why? Because Minos ordered it, to appease the Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull, born from his wife under a curse. And so the labyrinth grew beneath Knossos, and Ariadne grew above it, knowing her kingdom was fed by screams. She hated the monster. She hated the sacrifice. She hated being powerless. Until one year, a ship arrived from Athens, carrying a prince with defiant eyes. Theseus. Ariadne saw him, and something inside her shifted. He was not like the others, not resigned to die. He looked at the labyrinth, as if it could be conquered. That night, Ariadne went to Daedalus, the labyrinth's architect, and begged him for a way to defeat it. He gave her a spool of thread. "Tie it to the entrance," he said. "No one escapes the maze, but this might help him return." Ariadne took it, and then she made her choice. Betray her father, defy her country, abandon her name. She gave Theseus the thread. She gave him a sword. She gave him hope. And as he stepped into the labyrinth, she held the end of the thread in her hand, trembling. Theseus killed the Minotaur. He followed the thread to escape. Ariadne waited in the dark, and when he returned, they fled together. By sea, in secret. She had no crown now, no family, only the man she loved. They reached the island of Naxos, and there, while she slept, Theseus left. No warning, no farewell, no thread, only silence, and a ship fading into dawn. Ariadne awoke on the shore, alone, her heart hollow, every promise undone. She screamed, she wept, she prayed to gods who did not answer, until one did. Dionysus, god of wine, madness, joy, and freedom, came to her in wind and ivy. He did not pity her, he saw her, not as a leftover, not as the girl a hero abandoned, but as a woman who walked through a maze and still stood tall. He took her hand. He made her his queen. And as a wedding gift, he threw her crown into the sky, where it became the constellation Corona Borealis. If you've ever helped someone and they forgot you after they succeeded, if you've ever sacrificed everything and were left in silence, if you've ever held a thread so someone else could escape, then you are Ariadne, not a side character, not a footnote in a hero's tale, but the map, the guide, the light in the labyrinth, the woman who saved a hero and then became divine without him. He took the sword, he walked away, but I became the stars. Cassandra, the cursed prophetess of Troy, a woman who saw the future, but could never change it, because the world refused to listen. Troy, the shining gem on the coast of the Aegean, was a city of power, wealth, and divine favor. King Priam ruled as a wise sovereign, alongside Queen Hecuba, with dozens of children whose lives carried the fate of the city. Among them was a twin daughter, Cassandra. She was not as strong as Hector, not as charming as Paris, not worshipped like Helen. She only saw things others refused to see. As a child, Cassandra and her twin brother Helenus slept inside the temple of Apollo. When she woke, her eyes were no longer the same. Apollo, god of light, truth, and prophecy, had marked her mind. She could see the future. But when she came of age and refused to give herself to the god, Apollo cursed her. "I shall not take back my gift. I shall only add one more. You will always speak the truth, but no one will ever believe you." Cassandra saw Hector's death, Troy in flames, the wooden horse, the betrayal of the Thracian king, her own death at the hands of Clytemnestra. She told her father, Priam, the wise king. He looked at her like a stranger. She told her mother, Hecuba, who once cradled her. Hecuba embraced her, but did not hear. She told Paris, and Paris laughed. The boy who caused the war, who brought Helen to Troy, only smiled. He didn't want the truth, because truth would make him guilty. So Cassandra was left to wander the marble corridors of a palace already cracking. She screamed of flames and ships, of Greeks hidden in silence, of a wooden horse not as a gift, but a grave. She saw it all: Hector's death, the gates falling, the red sky swallowing her city. And still, no one listened. Troy burned, exactly as she had said. She stood in the temple, surrounded by screams, clutching statues that no longer protected, as walls fell and kings died. And still they did not listen, not even as fire reached their flesh. The Greeks stormed the sacred places, and in the ruins of fulfilled prophecy, they found her, not a sorceress, not a warrior, just a woman who saw too much. They took her. Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, claimed Cassandra as spoils of war. He led her not to honor, but to chains, dragging the voice of truth into a cursed palace. She walked beside him, now silent. What good are warnings in a world that won't hear? In Mycenae, she saw one last vision, not for kings, not for cities, but for herself. She saw Clytemnestra, wife of Agamemnon, standing in the shadows, blade in hand. She saw blood on marble once more, this time her own. And when it came, when Cassandra was murdered in the cold stone halls, she did not scream, because everything had already happened. She died the way she had lived, ignored. Final whisper: Cassandra. They called me cursed, Madam a liar, but I only ever spoke the truth, just too early. If you've ever warned someone and they turned away, if you've ever seen disaster coming and no one believed you, if you've ever carried truth in a world built to silence it, then maybe, just maybe, you are Cassandra too.